Good morning, everyone. Buenos dias a todos. Welcome back to Coffee and Headlines, our daily get-together here on Facebook, live every morning, 10:30, where we get together and we take a look at headlines, comments, questions, tips, ideas, suggestions, and all kinds of valuable information that helps us have an amazing life here in Puerto Vallarta. As an English-speaking community, my throat is all over the place this morning. We do this every day. We get together, we exchange information, we make the information available to you as part of what we call the show notes, which are uploaded after every broadcast. If you are new, my name is Paco, and we'd love to have you aboard. So stick around, be with us, and if you want to let us know that you're new, just write the word new in your comments and we'll be so very happy to give you a proper welcome. And if you have important questions or comments that you'd like to share, it helps us a great deal if you add the letter Q to them so that we will not miss them during the broadcasts. It's always great to see all kinds of friends that join us on a regular basis. William's in the house. Judy is in town. I love it. John is in Anaheim. Yakima's in the house. Good morning, Linda. And Louise is in Punta Negra, south of Puerto Vallarta. Nice beaches down there. It's great to see you all. We have all kinds of interesting news today. Of course, we know today is December 1st. It is World AIDS Day. It is a good day to remember there are other health crises that we need to take care of. For some of us, today is a good reminder to take an HIV test. If we've been sexually active and we've been, we want to make sure that health is okay and so forth and so on. For many, it's just a good day to remember that there are so many people that have lost their lives to the disease. And as Claude says, we're thinking of family and friends that are no longer with us. So we're going to go through today's news, which have a little bit of everything. And, great. Thank you for recommending Victor Jara documentary. It is very powerful, yes, and it is very upsetting, but it is a very important documentary. Any recommendations on where to get Nochebuena or poinsettias? Just about any greenhouse in town should have them by now. Supermarkets should also have them available for sale. And of course, Home Depot should have them. They always do. Anyhow, let us get started with the news. We have quite a few things to cover today. So let us go there. Boom. Well, for starters, it is December 1st, as we have mentioned it. It is the month of the holidays where things start getting a little crazy in town with people that arrive and so forth and so on. Of course, this year, we don't entirely know how things will fare out just yet. But that hasn't stopped the local government from making preparations of what they're calling the Operation Guadalupe Reyes, meaning that these are the precautions that the local government is going to implement between the beginning of the month, which is now, all the way up until the beginning of January, where we celebrate Three Wise Men Day, the day of the Reyes Magos. So our mayor, Arturo Davalos, indicated that starting today and up until the 10th of January, these special security measures will take place. What do they entail? Well, between the 1st and the 12th, which is the period during which we celebrate the Virgin of Guadalupe, culminating on the 12th, the personnel from security and policemen will be in charge of making sure that there are no concentrations of people heading towards the Church of Guadalupe in town, and making sure that no large gatherings take place. Uh, Along the same lines, between the 1st and the 31st of December, um, the security department of City Hall will make sure that the sale and burning of fireworks is um, is prevented. There will be no sales of fireworks anywhere where we usually can find them, being shopping centers or on the street. There's a lot of people that sell them on the street at traffic lights. So this is not going to happen, or we hope that the government will keep it from happening this year. And then from December 21st to January 10, because of the vacation holiday, the city personnel will make sure that people are not gathering in coordination with traffic cops and so forth and so on. So it is good to see that the city will be looking after popular gathering places like the Malecon and so forth, where, needless to say, it will be not wise to get together with a lot of people. In other news, we as in Mexico, got a slap on the wrist by the World Health Organization. And I have an article for you in English. There were several in Spanish, but I figured you would want to be involved with this one. And according to this, the head of the World Health Organization said that Mexico is in bad shape with the pandemic and urged its leaders to be serious about the coronavirus and set examples for its citizens. These comments came from the Director General of the World Health Organization. The number of increasing cases and deaths in Mexico is very worrisome, he said. Hugo López-Gatell had some comments to say about this. He respects the remarks, but what Hugo López-Gatell said in his daily press briefing was that this call is really not for us; it's really for the population. Um, Lopez-Gatell said, and I'm quoting, "Society is who should react on before this. Dr. Tedros is not necessarily saying it to me or to the president. If he wanted to, he would have sent a diplomatic message. What this is a time for us citizens to take things seriously. This is not a time for celebrations or weddings or congregations of any kind." So, needless to say, also, there are those who defend or rather criticize Hugo Lopez-Gatell in his posture as far as how the pandemic has been handled in Mexico. I have to say that when you consider how it's been handling in Mexico, how it's being handled in Mexico and it's being handled in other countries, I think we're faring quite well. But that's just my personal opinion. Again, we can't really fairly compare Mexico with other countries because every country is different. Um, Along those lines, Hugo Lopez-Gatell also mentioned that it is expected that the number of cases will continue increasing through the month of January, which is the cold season down here, as you know. There are some quotes here where he says, "In March, we said two things. We have to prepare for a long epidemic, and we said that once October comes, the number of cases is going to increase because of the winter and flu and so forth and so on." October has come and gone, November has come and gone, and the number of cases will continue to increase until January 2021, which is the middle point of our cold weather in Mexico. So again, this is what's going on as far as the latest news of that are related to COVID. Here in the state of Jalisco, we know that our governor, Enrique Alfaro, opened a stadium for people to be able to attend a game, and this was a pilot program. But he received enough criticism for that decision that he decided not to continue it in any way. The next big soccer game that is coming up is between the Guadalajara Chivas and the León team, and this is going to be without any people in the stadium. Moving on with our news, we read that in Riviera Nayarit, tourism has prospered, and they are ready to ask for the capacity of in hotels to increase to 50%, the occupancy, not the occupation, the occupancy. I have to remember that is a common mistake I make. Anyhow, Riviera Nayarit is not yet able to have up to 50% occupancy in their hotels. Right now, they are only allowed 30%, while Puerto Vallarta is allowed 50% because we're in a different state. But now, Riviera Nayarit is hoping that their capacity in occupancy is going to be increased to 50% any day now because they seem to be needing it. We only hope that they make that move in a responsible manner, of course. And then, we've had articles like this one, how safe is eating at a restaurant during the COVID pandemic? And I don't think we can ever have enough of these articles because we're all changing in our mindset. And also because the guidelines also seem to be evolving and changing as we move forward. So this was an interesting read. I just glanced through it, but I will come back to it after the show and I'll share it with you so that you can take a look at it. This one is in English, so you may find it interesting. And let me breeze through yet one more question from one of our viewers yesterday. Suzanne mentioned this question that I missed. Sending warm hugs from Gig Harbor, Washington. Would love an update about the Los Arcos breakwater and anything you know about a possible market at Garza Blanca. Well, the news are that there are no updates on this, Suzanne, and anybody else that has been wondering. The latest that we reported is that the Los Arcos development has a permit from Semarnat, which is the Natural Resources Secretary, and they authorized the construction of the breakwater. Now, does that mean that they've authorized any other type of construction? This is not certain at this moment. Because no formal development has been presented there. The only renders that I have seen for the Los Arcos construction have been renders that, to the best of my knowledge, were created many years ago. So we don't, in actuality, know what that development is going to look like today. Now, as far as what's going on in Garza Blanca, the team at Garza Blanca, they made a press release, a press announcement a few days ago about their entire big project. And yes, the project is going to include some kind of shopping center. I don't know if it's going to be a large one or a small one, but it will include a shopping center that will cater to all the condos and hotel units and so forth and so on that are going to be built as an extension to what already exists at Garza Blanca. It's a mammoth construction project. Let us hope that they have papers in check, and that unfortunately is what we know at this stage of the game. Let me take a quick look at your comments to see if there are any questions that are showing up. Centerville, Utah is strolling by. Thank you for joining us, Michael. Let me see. So happy to have picked up my bike at my old place. An enjoyable ride along the Malecon. I am envious. Oh, Michael recommends, that's right. There's a place just past Macro Plaza where Soriana is, where you can find the Flores de Nochebuena, the poinsettias. Let's see what else we have here. Good morning, my dear friend Mayra. I want to tell you about my dear friend Mayra because Mayra is a dear, dear, dear friend of mine. But most importantly, like many of us, Mayra has started her own cottage industry project, and she's making this amazing tea that she was kind enough to gift me a small container of, and it is absolutely delicious. She mixes all the ingredients, and it's super healthy and super completely organic. She's in the process of getting her Facebook page ready so that I can tell you more details about this. But it'll be wonderful. Let's see who's here. Let's see, what else do we have? Us LGBTQ folks have dealt with a pandemic before. We are equipped to deal with this one. That is a very interesting thought because, in a sense, you're absolutely right, James. I think, and I've had this conversation with a lot of gay male friends that I have, in one way or another. Um, for better or worse, we have been dealing with this impending doom that we have to be extra careful, or make important decisions for ourselves and know how to deal with the consequences of the risk factor. This may seem a little new to some people that have not had that experience. And that's on one hand. On the other hand, the virus is completely different, and the way it is transmitted is, as we know, completely different than the way AIDS is transmitted or HIV is transmitted. So, but one way or another, yes, we are definitely in touch with what it means to take chances and take risks. Um, and Claude brings up an interesting point. The younger generations have no clue of what it was like for those of us that were around during the 80s and were surrounded by people that kept dying and so forth and so on. It is one of those things in which bringing awareness is super, super important. Sylvie chimes in on my feelings about that whole project. William chimes in on my feelings about eating at restaurants. I am having a good time eating outside, but not so much in the eating in the inside. Let me throw in a quick and dirty poll because we can do this. I'm curious to see how everybody is doing in terms of indoors or outdoor restaurant eating. So let me put this together. Restaurant, my dear. Outdoor only. Indoor sometimes. Indoor not yet. So I'm going to save this and I'm going to share this with you just to see where you're at as far as your restaurants nowadays. So let us know. Take some seconds to answer this little poll while we start looking at some of the other questions that we have. And I think I'm actually all caught up with questions and news. So let us get to the weather forecast, and then we'll come back to see where you're at in terms of your restaurant habits. I find it really interesting to see whether we are shifting as time goes by. But first, let's have a look at our weather forecast. Oh, snarky weather forecast reminds us that the Arecibo radio telescope is collapsing, which is a really sad bit of news. But snarky carrot weather says the Arecibo radio telescope collapsed just before it was set to discover the lizard people's home planet. That's very funny. It is 25 degrees Celsius in Puerto Vallarta, which is lovely. Feels like 27 degrees Fahrenheit. It is 76 degrees. Humidity is a little higher than yesterday, 80%. And the weather forecast for today is partly cloudy through the day with a high temperature of 27. Tomorrow, Wednesday, it's going to be clear through the day with a high of 27. And on Thursday, it is also going to be clear with a high of 28. So the weather is quite lovely these days, I'm very happy to say. And let me take a look at some other headlines that I have put together for you, but not before showing you the results of this poll. I assume that just about everyone has answered. And take a look at this. 56% of you are only eating outdoors. 32% of you are eating indoors sometimes, and 12% of you are not going into restaurants yet. I completely understand that, and I can certainly appreciate how we all have different steps in this process of getting comfortable with our surroundings. Moving on, I have an interesting story that I read that talks about ghost kitchens during the pandemic, and this is something that apparently is happening more and more, not only in Mexico but elsewhere in the world. And this is something that some restaurants are doing. Restaurants that are not able to operate their own space, either because it's not profitable or the spaces are too small or whatever. Restaurants are relying on ghost kitchens in which, if you have all your health uh, procedures in check, you are able to just have home delivery. And there are a couple of operations here in Puerto Vallarta. There's an Indian, I think there's an Indian food operation in which it's really not a restaurant, it's just a delivery service. And there's a couple of those here in town. They're known as dark kitchens, according to this article, or ghost kitchens. And this is something that has been happening more and more as we try to deal with the pandemic. And there's some interesting infographics in this article, even though it's in Spanish. I think you may find it interesting. Excuse me. I also wanted to let you know that as another television series for Apple TV Plus is being recorded in Rivera Nayarit. This is a production called The Mosquito Coast, and it stars Justin Theroux, who is Jennifer Aniston's ex-husband. And this is the second series for this particular streaming platform that is being filmed in Riviera Nayarit. The first one was called Defending Jacob, which was filmed in September 2019, and it featured actor Chris Evans. So it is good to see that Riviera Nayarit is also as popular as the state of Jalisco when it comes to film production. According to this article that I'm reading from Riviera Nayarit, 8 television programs have been recorded in Riviera Nayarit as throughout this year so far. These have been either series of documentaries, but also 3 short features, short-length features, 2 commercials, and 1 music video. And in addition to that, 3 sessions for catalogs, fashion catalogs have been produced in Riviera Nayarit. And this is all good news because we know that these types of projects always bring more awareness to our destination as a whole. As a whole. I had talked to you about this business of Frédéric Chopin and Frédéric Chopin, whose letters have been researched and resurfaced, and it has the whole country of Poland having a hissy fit because Poland is one of the most homophobic countries in the world, and that's very unfortunate. And apparently, a lot of the letters that have been preserved that were written by Frédéric Chopin, and he wrote a lot of letters to his male friends. Many of these conveniently disappeared, but others are still around, and they were not properly translated to other languages. Well, there was this new research project from a channel in Germany, and there's this wonderful article. It is in German, but I watched it. I took a look at it on Google Chrome, and I was able to translate it, and it shows specific instances in which the letters that Frédéric Chopin wrote were not translated properly. So the translator arbitrarily added, what do you call he and she? Those are not articles. Are they articles? I don't remember. But in the letters where Frédéric Chopin made absolutely no reference to whether he was writing lovingly to a man or a woman, but the letter was directed or addressed to a man, the translators were adding the she, making them all a feminine gender situation. I'm not explaining this clearly, but I know that you're understanding me. So what I'm getting at is Chopin appears to be either gay or bisexual, and the Polish people are having a hard time digesting this. I thought it was really interesting and fascinating, but maybe you won't, but I'm going to share it anyway, and I just did. So let me take a quick look at your comments for today, and we'll see where we are at. What about only takeout? Well, there are a lot of people that are only enjoying takeout, um, and that's okay. Um, you should add delivery only. Well, it was just a quick poll, Ed. It was just a quick, let's see where we're at. Mark chimes in. He has not gone to any restaurants in March. Since March, only delivery and takeout. Um, People who have never had to worry about exposure to pathogens are having a hard time adjusting. Absolutely. Absolutely. Not much open air entertainment in midwinter here at the best of times. Yes, and this notion, and that was part of what was discussed in this article that I shared with you from Huffington Post. There are some people that are living in colder places in which restaurants are installing like transparent structures outdoors. So you are outdoors, but you are still in a space where air is not circulating. So it is not advisable to do that either. Um, Um, James contributes with more reminders of how things were different when AIDS was around, and again, for those of us that lived the pandemic, the AIDS pandemic. Was it a pandemic? Well, the AIDS years, I remember the restrictions and I remember the cluelessness of authorities. Well, they were dealing with something that was unknown, and just as we are dealing with something that is unknown uh, today. And what else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? A lot of comments about whether he, she pronouns. Thank you very much, James. Sometimes English just escapes me. Escapes me. This is, thank you very much for that, Claude. I find it fascinating because, I mean, everything we know about Chopin would indicate that he had some kind of affectionate inclination for men or maybe sexual, but it is fascinating to see that nothing had ever surfaced until now. Um, and yeah, this is something that would upset me as well. Let's see what else. Barbara is also not surprised. Um, and Michael, the only reason why um, I was doubting on whether to call it a pandemic or not is because I don't know off the top of my head what is the actual definition of a pandemic. I'm not saying that it didn't affect everyone. Absolutely, it affected everyone. You're absolutely right. Pam, 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 pam. Okay, so I think we are caught up with comments. Tomorrow is Wednesday is for walking. Tomorrow is walking Wednesday, and I am preparing an amazing walk that I'm going to show you tomorrow because I filmed it a couple of days ago, and this is my favorite weekend walk. And I'm going to might as well just tell you what it is. Tomorrow I'm going to talk in detail about what it's like to walk from the Libramiento to Moro Paraíso upriver. It is my favorite weekend activity. I do it with my friends. And it's a great walk because it's mostly flat. It is only about an hour long and it takes you right along the river. And I'm going to tell you everything about the walk. I'm going to tell you everything about things you may want to take into account once you're walking and so forth and so on. And this is what we are going to do tomorrow. Chef Callis tells us, I am open for cooking to anyone. Chef, I have mentioned this privately before. Let us know your menu. Let us know what you're cooking. If you have a Facebook page, it's time to update it because it'll make it a lot easier for people to get excited about the food that you are delivering. So if you have something put together, please feel free to share it with us so that we can promote it here at Coffee and Headlines. And we will make sure to promote it. Luna just jumped on my chair, or is it her chair? Of course it's her chair. She's sitting back there and she's taking a look at what's going on. I can go get her if somebody. There was somebody who had not met Luna. Let me go get Luna because you guys wanted to meet her. Come here, baby. Come here. Oh yes. Oh yes. So here she is. If anybody doubts, this is Luna. She is in charge of taking notes and she's in charge of running this house and making sure that I don't bring tricks into the house and that I keep her well fed and so forth and so on. So she is my Prozac. She is my savior. She's my companion. And now she's going to go to her post. Boom. There you go. Anyhow, that was today's Coffee and Headlines. I hope you had a good time. It was a mellow kind of day. There's not a lot of important or interesting news to share today. But tomorrow is hump day. Tomorrow is walking day. And tomorrow we'll have a lot of fun talking about what it's like to get out of town and be surrounded by mountains and nature in less time that you can imagine. Between now and tomorrow, please stay kind, stay safe, stay well fed. You were expecting me in my underwear. Well, I can be, if you want me to flash so that I can, I don't know, Claude, you're never going to see me in my underwear. Only my comfy shorts, that's for sure. Anyhow, that was it. I'm rambling, so it's time to let you go. Have an awesome day, and I'll see you tomorrow for Walking Wednesday. Enjoy.